Y'all, now that was a mind twist. I'm gonna keep it PG tonight, but man, I didn't think I was gonna like this movie initially. The idea of going in someone else's body and then being there for the rest of your life because maybe they got a lot of Instagram followers or they real popular or they got what you want, and to transform it into what we got here, man, this movie it definitely surprised me, and I'm happy to say that I can't complain. What's popping, y'all? We back with the DeAndre Way. I can't even say my own name right. DeAndre Way. Make sure to comment and subscribe and whatnot if you haven't done so already. And today we are gonna jump right into it. I just finished watching the movie. It's What's Inside, not outside. We inside today, not outside. And this movie, to be quite frank, the beginning I wasn't feeling it. Like, it was a little slow starting out, but I actually liked the ending. It moved real quick at the end, and it was kind of hard to figure out who was who and what was going on. But I like that. I like taking time to actually think about what happened and trying to put the puzzle pieces together and trying to unravel this conundrum that these players or kids or friends got themselves into. It was crazy. It was nuts, and actually, besides the sci-fi thing, it was believable to an extent. I don't think the balconies would break on a house like that, coach, but they had to do something, and that's when I really kind of was like, oh snap. Like it got crazy. I wasn't expecting that. And I love the movies that I can't expect was going down. But yes, this movie called It's What's Inside is on Netflix. It's pretty new. It stars a bunch of people who I am not familiar with, which, as you know, I love if you watch this before. We got a whole bunch of slew of people who are making their kind of debuts for me. I don't recognize none of these people. And basically, what this story is about is basically all these friends, they're getting together. There's one couple, and we'll get into the players' names essentially in a minute. There's a couple. There's some people who's had past relationships. There's this kid that got thrown under the bus. Well, as we thought it was for us, but it really wasn't. And it's just a group of friends basically getting together because one of them's about to get married soon, and they're just gonna have one real fun night, get drunk, get lit, get high, get the whole nine, and then they're just gonna go on and go to the wedding, and they're gonna go their separate ways essentially, and maybe catch up again in the future. That's what this basis was about, but it turned into a kind of sci-fi horror, Freaky Friday esque film to where all hell broke loose real quick and real bad, and that's the basis of the story. That was the basic plot, but it gets way deeper than that. But before we get too far into it, I just want to introduce these characters for y'all because this does get confusing. Now, the one thing I will say about this film is if you aren't paying attention to these characters' names, you will get lost. I didn't really know who was who. We didn't get formally introduced to all the characters. We got formally introduced to the first two, Shelby and her boyfriend Cyrus, and then obviously Forbes, and then the popular girl with the blonde hair. I can't remember her name at the moment. And the rest of the people, we got kind of introduced to them, but it was just a lot at once. We did get introduced to them. It was just a lot at once. And unless you were really slowing it down, it was kind of hard to decipher whose name was who because it was just going real quick. And now I did like the creative camera angles. It was making me a little dizzy at times, but the camera, we had a lot of still shots to where the camera didn't pan. It didn't change. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know my terminology, is it's just it was a rolling shot for like 5 minutes, 6 minutes at a time sometimes. And it was dope. It was cool. Very unique ways of using their angles in this that I don't really see too often. And it was something cool. It was different. It took me a minute to get used to it, but it was different. But yes, we will introduce the characters real quick for y'all. So I'm gonna pull this up, and yeah. So the first girl that we get introduced to is Shelby. She is one of the main, I guess, characters. They're all main characters, but she is the main girl, and she's this girl who, at the beginning of the movie, she's outside and she's looking at this other girl's TikToks, and she could tell she's jealous of this other girl. It seems like all she does do is post on TikTok and Instagram, and she gets a million likes per video, and everyone's complimenting her and whatnot. But she comes back home and she finds her man's jerking off to some, I don't know what kind of porn he was watching, but he was watching some kind of corn. I gotta watch the words, but yes, he was watching some kind of corn up in there, and yeah, it was funny because you could tell, like, look, they haven't been together. They even said they haven't done anything together in a while. They haven't really been intimate because of whatever reasons. He's not into her. She seems very into him. She wants her to kind of put this wig on and do these things and whatnot, but she really wasn't about that. And she's kind of in a spot where she doesn't know where her relationship's at right now. She wants to really love this guy, but she has a it just seems like he doesn't like her back for whatever reason. Pretty girl, so I don't know what the problem is, but maybe she's just a little boring for him. That's what it is. Well, then we meet Nikki. Nikki is the popular girl that she was looking at her Instagram and getting all these likes, and she's basically an Instagram model, essentially. Beautiful girl. Everyone likes her. Everyone wants to be her. She's the it girl, per se, and she knows it. But we find out there's a little more in depth with her at the end, but it seems pretty basic to come off the top. Then we get Ruben. So Ruben is this dude who he's getting married, and his girlfriend or soon to be wife is not there. And he's the player, he's the pimp, he's the good looking, suave man who he's a jokester too. Jock type, very popular guy, flamboyant, as you can see with the shirt he's wearing and that. And he's kind of the life of the party. He's down for whatever and down to do anything. And then we get Dennis. So Dennis, honestly, he's kind of like the sly guy. He's kind of got like his own kind of persona to him. Honestly, Dennis is the least character I connected with the most, just because when the body switched, I was just confused. But he got money. He's the cool dude. He's taken over his parents' trust fund. He hasn't had to work a day in his life. Spoiled brat, kind of does what he wants and doesn't really think about anything else. We get Brooke. Brooke is this Asian girl who she's kind of high on life. She's living free. She's doing what she wants to do. She's definitely into a lot of different things. She's artistic. She's just a fun girl, just a real fun girl. That's the best way I can say it. And she likes to get lit too. Then we meet Maya. So Maya is this tattooed Zen girl, likes to meditate, likes to Zen, and really live a free life, if you know what I mean. But yeah, she's a very interesting character. She's very spiritual. That's the best thing I can say about her. Then we meet Cyrus. We meet him at the beginning, but Cyrus is what's her face's boyfriend, Shelby's boyfriend. He's kind of like not into her. He's on his laptop doing things, and yeah, he just didn't really care about the relationship. Seems too much, and he really wants this blonde-haired chick, but we don't find that out till later. So he's kind of like a scumbag to Shelby, and just does her dirty with all the things that we find out in the end. Definitely not the most popular character. And then we get this dude. This dude Forbes. He is he is the anti-hero of the movie, and he's the one who everyone kind of made fun of growing up. I mean, clearly, kind of just people gave him a lot of shit, and he had to deal with it. And seemingly just he was a nerd archetype, and he's just been outside the friend group, so nobody really liked him like that, but he was just kind of there as the punching bag. And that's everyone on the main group. Like I said, it was a lot to go through real quick, y'all. Like, they threw a lot of them at, and I was just kind of like trying to catch up with the names because they were moving with the story along real quick. But those are all the people. And so basically, yes, Shelby's envious of Nikki getting all the attention. And the movie, they did a lot of interesting cuts and sounds. Like you'll notice heavily at the beginning, but just the sounds that they use are very animated. The cuts that they use for the angles are very colorful cuts and creative cuts. They definitely used Adobe Premiere Pro and side effects for this movie, y'all, definitely. And I'm just wondering how many takes they did of these long scenes that they did not cut. Just curious. I want to know the backstory and seeing how many they did because they were long. And yes, we get kind of a retelling, kind of a Mean Girls esque montage of what happened with Forbes in high school. They're using that element. If you've seen Mean Girls, you know what I'm talking about. Like, say, where Regina George or Katie is talking about, oh, this is the it girl, this is the those girls, these. I think it was Katie that was telling you those, and it goes like their montages, and that's kind of what was going down with Forbes. And soon Forbes is like, all right, I got this game I want y'all to play, and Forbes brings out this suitcase, and they're all at this big mansion, just kind of gonna have a big party with 7 people. Thought it was gonna be more people, but hey, it is what it is. But yes, they're at this mansion, ducked off in the middle of nowhere, and he puts these little things on their temples, these shock wave things and whatnot. If you got, it's like shock stem. If you ever know what stem, if you ever got stem, you know what I'm talking about. Stem is like you put something on your muscles and it helps rejuvenate it. And that's kind of what this reminded me of. But yes, they put them on their temples and they all start freaking out. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then we find out that they switched bodies with each other and then he switched them right back. So this guy has this machine that he took from his top secret job to switch bodies as a party game. He said we gonna play charades. We're gonna do say who's who, guess who, all these things. I'm like, okay. So then I was like, okay, this is one of these Freaky Friday-esque movies to this is what's going down. And my initial thought is like, they're doing a play on it, which is kind of interesting. And then I thought like everyone was gonna mix up bodies and whatnot. I was kind of right, kind of wrong. I like the idea because we don't get these. I always like the body switching movies, 17 going on, no, 13 going on 30, the whole nine. I do enjoy these just because I covered one too, the Christmas movie. Oh, God. If you ain't seen the Christmas movie that I posted, I think it was in January. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I reviewed it to my Netflix reviews playlist. I guess this is the second switching bodies movies that I've reviewed. So 2 in 1 year. Hey, who would have thought? But God, that movie. Um, but yes, when I think of switching bodies movies, it's always interesting because you get a different perspective of things. Now, the Christmas movie I did, I cannot remember the name of it. I wasn't too high on that just because it was very corny. It was very kiddie. It was very just nonsensical and trying to be over exaggerated in all aspects. When this one, however, they were more subtle with things after they did it the first time. They kind of played it a little less like cartoonish and more kind of how you would think maybe some real people would react. Now that movie was PG-13. This was rated like R, I believe, just because there was a lot of profanity and sexual action going down. And I could see these characters being real. I could see them actually being real people, and that kind of brought me into the reality of the lights. Now, except for the whole switching bodies thing, but yeah, they gave really good reactions. I think the actors did a great job in really kind of creating these characters and making them their own. I just wish I could get them keeping catching up with the names because they just kept boom, 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 boom. It was a lot to keep up with. This movie is very kind of difficult to keep up with if you're really trying to focus in. But yes, they switch bodies and they're like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. Like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And some couple of people are freaked out. Some people want to do it again and keep going. And I'm thinking like, man, they're going to wear this machine out and it's going to run out of batteries and they're not going to be able to switch back. That's what I was thinking. But yes, we get more retellings of the stories and a little, well, not retell. I already said that part. But yes, they put the electrodes on their heads and he can't tell them what the real reasons what the machine is used for. Now, this is a sequel. My guess is that they was using it maybe for animals. Or maybe they were using it for I don't know, some crazy scientific experience. NASA and Area 51 be hiding things. So I would actually like to try this game to switch bodies just because you could see myself and how I move and operate out of somebody else's lens. That's the most interesting thing. You know, you see yourself on TV if you've been on TV, like Squid Game. I was on Squid Game, obviously, and I got to see myself. But in real life, in real time, that would be crazy. And then see how somebody else feels, you know, like just that's very interesting. And they really kind of got in depth with that more on this rather than just be like, oh, I'm in another body. Okay. Like, and then move on with their business. They actually talked about like, wow, I feel like this. And they explained like, oh, when they got on each other's phones and especially with the Instagram chick, she was going through it and making posts and she had that euphoric feeling in her body of, oh my gosh, I got 1,000 likes in 2 seconds. You know, so just little things. I thought it was good attention to detail on that. But yes, they decided to do it again and play a game while they do it to continue to play. And the game is basically we're gonna guess who's who, and if we're wrong, you can't switch. You're out the game, something like that. And so yes, the game starts and Forbes gets into Ruben's body and then kind of starts acting weird. And then folks start ducking off in their own corners and start making out. I believe it's see the thing is they switch body. I'm not gonna get into the fact of who's switching whose bodies because that would just take forever. But they end up switching bodies again. Everyone's in a different body, and some folks getting it on and cracking. You know, some folks getting on and cracking with people that they really wanted to get it on and cracking with, which was hilarious. And I knew it was making a definitely difficult love triangle, square, pentagon, everything. And people start seeing what's popping with other people's intentions. Very, very interesting aspect to that. We haven't seen I've never seen a body switch movie to where it's all people of the same age group. It's only been like parent kid. That's all I've ever seen. I like that they changed a little bit and added the friend to friend. You know, so I think that was pretty cool. It made it pretty kind of realistic for the reasons why certain people maybe want to stay in a body or like this body more than their own, or maybe the lifestyle. Like Shelby. Shelby really liked, God, why do I keep forgetting that girl's name? Shelby really liked Nikki. Is it Nikki? Yeah, really like Nikki's body. Nikki's the blonde hair girl. Shelby's the light skinned black girl with the thick curls. And yes, so Forbes apparently lied about whose body he was in last time. Forbes is lying, this and third. He was a sketchy from the beginning. This dude Forbes is a slimy, sneaky snake, it seems like. He just has that archetype to where you can't trust dude as far as you can throw him. I mean, you could throw him pretty far because he's kind of skinny, but you can't trust this dude. You got to, a pecker. You know what I mean? A big pecker. Can't trust the people with the big peckers. And yeah, it's getting, people will start kind of getting it on and cracking. Like I said, they start, popping clothes off and popping lips and popping ass and everything else is popping. There's a lot of things popping in this, and when they start going at it in round two. And Forbes, look, that's the person's body I wouldn't want to be in because he just look, I'm gonna try and be nice. This man's got a pecker. That's all I'm gonna say. But yes, two of the people are making out on top, and it's Brooke and Ruben. And I believe the real Brooke and Ruben. Look, I'll just pull up the screen. So these two people start making out on the top. It is where are they at? Where's it at? Where are they at? Where are they at? Dennis and Maya. They start making out on top. Her and him. Those two start making out on the top of the balcony, and all of a sudden, this balcony kind of starts shaking and quaking and feeling the vibrations and starts cracking, and it knows it's getting that back action, and then this thing breaks, crumbles, and they fall off the balcony and end up dying by falling into these dang garden decorations. I was like, ooh, that's when it like my eyes kind of popped open with this movie. So they died and they're in different bodies. These people ain't in their own bodies. And so then all hell breaks loose. People are freaking out. Like some, people whose bodies those are like, oh my gosh, like I'm dead. Like, what am I going to do? I got to reincarnate into this body and then figure it out. And they're fighting and whatnot, and they start throwing low blows and jabs. They start exposing things from the past and what really is going down and the reasons behind why people feeling how they feeling. And the person in Cyrus's body, I believe, is whoever's in the white boy's body. So the person in the white boy's body, where's he at? Cyrus's body. He calls the police. I can't remember who it is, but because it's all over the place. But the person in Cyrus's body calls the police, and the police are on the way. So they got limited time now. He's like, he confessed to killing the people that fell off the balcony because he wants, if he switches his body back, then the real Cyrus is going to jail. And so all hell starts breaking loose. That then we get Shelby, and she doesn't want to go back into her body because she likes this new body and new feel. I'm like, girl, you code switching for real, like for real. I ain't never seen a code switch like this. Where you gonna switch from black to white, Michael Jackson settings, girl? What you doing? What are you doing? But she mostly wanted the Instagram followers, the clout, all that. And then Cyrus, the real Cyrus, really liked her, Nikki, the blonde hair girl, but Shelby just wanted to hear that. And she was kind of fed up with him and all the lies, and everything came out. And soon everyone has different, like Shelby wants Nikki wants her body back. Shelby doesn't want her body back. It's a whole mess. They start arguing, fighting, fussing, and they all get around the machine, put the electrodes on, but they're fighting because everyone has different motives and whatnot. And people are knocking each other unconscious. People putting peanut butter on people's lips, who's allergic to it. It's crazy, y'all. This is an insane scene. And also throughout this film, you get this like demonic red light to where it's like it shows you who's really in whose body, so that can kind of help you figure it out, but it does it like off and on. That's the only thing, is like sometimes this movie is just hard to keep up with. It was moving at a pace that I just I couldn't hold on to sometimes. And it was a little all over the place in moments. But yes, they end up getting the electrodes back on their heads, and then the button gets pressed, but we don't know who's in the right spot, and stuff all gets messed up. Then it goes black, and then we find this girl, Forbes' sister, this girl that we haven't seen the whole movie. She's driving in this car, blah, blah, blah. She pulls up on Forbes and tackles him. And turns out that this girl, who we think is a girl, is really Forbes in his sister's body. So he explains they switched off way back when, and he's been trying to get her body back, but she was in a psych ward. And so Forbes was in her body now, and he finally was able to catch up, and he kind of, seeing what was going down, because the sister was really in Forbes' body. So Forbes wasn't Forbes the whole movie. You see how it was kind of a brain twist? I like the end plot that kind of switched everything up. But yes, it was crazy. And anywho, but in the ending, we get Cyrus back in his body. We get Shelby back in her body. And what happens with them two is Cyrus is in jail because of the person calling the police, who wasn't him, but blamed it on him. And he's in jail, and he won't get out unless Shelby explains everything. But she's like, nah, I ain't explaining things, because all the lies you did, all the cheating you did, all the habitual line stepping you did, it's over. We're done. I'm out. Enjoy prison for the rest of your life. Say hi to the Menendez brothers for me. We're going to get to that soon too, y'all. Yes, she was over it, and the other characters, they have their own conundrums going on. They're distraught and whatnot. We didn't really get a final eclipse with them, and then we find out the blonde girl, who I believe it got her body back. She had to have gotten her body back. She runs off with the machine somehow. Who knows how that happened? I wish we kind of got like seen how things just transpired once the police got there, and they just kind of just explained like this happened, and it rushed the ending a little bit. And that was pretty much the movie, y'all. So, I mean, this movie was a lot. It was all over the place, but it was exciting, entertaining the second half. Once they started switching the bodies the second time, then it picked up and ramped up, and tensions got high, emotions got high, flares got high, and people got high too, literally. It was a lot of high things going down. Whew. But yes, it's honestly, it's very confusing to keep up with. It was very confusing. But it was enjoyable, y'all. I would give this movie I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7 because it was quality. It was intriguing. Like I said, it's hard to go wrong with the body switch movies. And that adds a different element to everything. But also the horror aspect, people dying. I ain't seen no body switch movie where somebody died before, you know? And just kind of the attitude of the characters too. You know, if you're a millennial, you can, or millennial or Gen Z, you can kind of relate to one of the characters at some point, or all of them. And that's kind of what I liked. It was relatable. It was very relatable. But yeah, y'all check the movie out. I'll recommend this movie. It was an interesting watch. It's not for everybody, definitely not, but I think it's not too bad. So, but anyways, y'all, check out It's What's Inside. It's on Netflix. Pretty new still. I think it's number 4 or 5 at this point. But hey, tell me what you think about the movie. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? What could you do without it? Anywho, y'all, we out here. Peace, blessings, deuces, and have a great, great rest of your day. Whew. This movie got me a little on edge too, y'all.